Hi, Paul Sack. It's Good News Planet. I'm speaking to Jon Loew. Hey, John, how are you?
Hi, Paul.
John, I know you for a bunch of years. You're a good Samaritan. And actually, this conversation started by you and I speaking previously, and you mentioning to me that if somebody falls down, there's some law here about Good Samaritans. Two, it was also in the process of learning more about you that you went through some COVID we're going to talk about, and now you're also a volunteer fireman, and I salute you for actually many things because I know a bit about you, and you personally are a good Samaritan. So welcome to the show. Let's talk about firefighting, because actually John might have to get up at any moment and leave this interview to go fight and be part of a community that's helping as volunteers fire fires. Is that right?
That's right. I became a volunteer firefighter during the COVID lockdown because it was one of the first times of my life that I would be home long enough to go through the type of training that was needed. I'm been in business for a long time, and it required me to travel fairly often. So, I think it's important to always look at any situation that you see as a problem could also be an opportunity. So for me, this was a great opportunity, and it changed my life. And a little known fact is that the overwhelming majority of firefighters in the United States are volunteers who get the same training as paid firefighters. I didn't realize that myself until I volunteered to join the department.
And what inspired you to actually go? We can say we like to become a fighter, let's call it, volunteer. And then we are now a volunteer firefighter. What was literally the inspiration? I mean, being home is one thing, but it has to be a little bit more to actually get you out of the house to go into that scenario, especially under COVID conditions, right? I mean, there's another level.
Yeah. So over the last summer, summer 2020, I saw an old friend that I've known since junior high school, and I brought up the fact that I always wanted to be a firefighter, and he was a former chief of our department, and I said, "Hey, Mike, I always wanted to be a firefighter. Do you think now is a good time?" And he said, "Well, guess what? The oldest you can be to join our fire department is 49. You have to start before you turn 50. So he and I are the same age. He said, "You better do it now. This is your last chance." So I always wanted to be a firefighter, and I thought that in a very complicated world, being a firefighter is pretty pure endeavor. There's a fire, we respond, we go to help the people in distress and put the fire out. A clear mission like that was very refreshing at a time when it's almost impossible to understand what's going on in the world, and very hard to believe what anyone is saying. So I think I was drawn to that. And the day after the conversation with my friend Mike, I was at the firehouse getting the process started, and I had some apprehension along the way, but my instinct has always been to run towards trouble to see if I can help. And this was a great way to, really fulfill that need, and that feeling that I've always had.
Well, to run towards the trouble is like a fire person's mantra, right? I mean, something's burning. My family have lost a whole business over a fire, and my dad's shoe store up there in Tarrytown when I was a young man. And the strain and stress on my dad and family, that lasted for forever. I mean, they burned down to the ground, actually. But to know what, you said you always wanted to be. Young guys, I think, and maybe young girls as well, see a fire truck and they wonder what they know that that's people going to do something to help somebody,
Yeah.
right? And you think that that was something you saw in that? I mean, this truck alone is of interest because it's, you
Well,
know, we play with fire trucks and things as a
yeah.
kid. So
Well,
what do you think it was?
I grew up on a street right off the main street in our town, and every Memorial Day there'd be a parade, and I could not wait to see the fire engines at the end of that parade. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just, deep down, I knew those people were, good people who would come to our rescue if there was a problem. And I remember riding my bicycle down to the corner and being one of the first people at the parade area, just waiting for those fire engines to come.
Wow.
And that stuck with me. And, I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. And maybe there's people who are watching this. It's never too late to pursue a dream of yours. And I'm nothing special. So I'm now 50, with the same aches and pains and fatigue that everyone my age or older feels. And I was able to get through some really rigorous training requirements. And it's, as with everything else or most things in life, it's mind over matter. And it really changed my life. And if you're watching this and you ever thought about doing it, just go down to your local fire department and say, hey, I'd like to volunteer. And believe me, all the people you're talking to were in the same position as you. They started by going into the firehouse and saying, hey, I want to volunteer. And you can see if you like it. You probably will. And if you don't, it's not a blood oath. You can always withdraw later. But I promise you, you won't regret taking that first step.
I think also I'll just say, also a child is very lucky if they have good family values, because the families themselves, our parents, our immediate community, will support. Hey, very simple. Somebody could say, well, don't go down there to the fire parade and stuff like that, and could really, tarnish a dream. And I just like to sometimes throw that out because I'm a grandpa and stuff. And I think more as you get older, the support you give your own children to do as they feel in their soul. So I imagine you had some of that as well.
I did. My grandfather, my mother's father, whenever I stayed with them, would take me over to the local firehouse
Oh,
in their town. And I mean, I was very young. I must have been 5, 6, 7 years old. And I was fascinated by the fire engines then.
that's a big
And
deal.
as far as my parents, my father, may he rest in peace, was a civil rights lawyer who also had an instinct to help people who needed help. And I remember my mother would be usually the person attending the parade with me. Um,
Oh,
and I'm not sure she understood why I loved the fire engine so much, but she obviously, was supportive of it. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of people who, influenced me. Um, so I thank them all.
beautiful. Let's talk about this Good Samaritan. Is it a law here? I think you have some legal background yourself.
Yeah.
Is that a law here in the state of New York, or is that a USA law, or do you know?
So I'll start by saying that, everybody, should be doing their own research and interpreting the law themselves. But almost every state in the union has something called a Good Samaritan law,
Mhm.
which means if you see someone in trouble and you try to help them, you don't need to be worried about them suing you or someone else suing you because you accidentally hurt them. So, for example, if someone is choking to death and you know how to do CPR, or if someone's choking and you know how to do the Heimlich maneuver, and you save their life, but in the process you break one of their ribs, they cannot sue you for breaking their rib. If someone is choking and you say, I have an idea, I'm going to take a sledgehammer and hit them with it so that they spit the food out, you're probably going to have trouble. But if you make a good faith effort to help someone, the law is there so that people feel confident that they can try to help and not have negative repercussions. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people sue each other over the slightest things. Someone's feelings can be hurt, and next, they're filing a lawsuit. My feelings were hurt because you made fun of my favorite football team. But the Good Samaritan laws are there to encourage citizens to help each other, and I think it's great.
Oh boy. All righty. We're going to take that piece out of our entire edit, and we're going to make that a separate also and include that as a separate piece, because that is very, 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 both things of what you speak about are majorly wonderful. I'm going to say it that way, because you are a do-gooder, and I know you for a long time, and you've always been, and that's a great thing. And as a result of that, I want to ask you one last question, because
Sure.
this is a big subject matter for you too, I happen to know. And we're involved with the International Day of Peace, September 21st, and we've been involved with it for many, many years. And I ask many people, for them, what is peace? What is peace for them? And however you feel comfortable, if you care to share, Jon Loew, what is peace for you?
I think peace for me is much of what the American Constitution and Bill of Rights guarantee people. And I think peace is not necessarily everyone in agreement on every issue. I think peace is an environment where people can have differences of opinion and discuss them civilly and learn and grow from each other, because usually people with two very opposing viewpoints, neither of them are 100% correct. So how else can you learn than by a meaningful exchange? So peace for me would be again, an environment where people can exchange thoughts and ideas without a fear of being persecuted for those ideas. So you could be sitting on a beach and you're not worried about repercussions of your actions because you're sitting there alone. So that's often people say that's peaceful. I want to be isolated. But I believe that true peace is when we can all be around each other and be very different religions, ethnicities, political affiliations, and still be happy. That is actually the ultimate peace.
I wish I could have said it so well. Jon, very, very wonderfully, and wonderfully stated and wise. Appreciate the opportunity to get to speak with you. Big honor for me, and continue on with your wonderful path of being there for the world and caring about it in such a beautiful way.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for having me on. And I wish you continued success and prosperity with Good News Broadcast. Your platform is needed now more than ever.
Appreciate it. All right, Jon, thanks.
Okay.